Welcome to another episode of Extreme Expat Stories of Thailand. Hi, my name is Lars Andersson. I'm 38 years old, Swedish, and I've been living in Hua Hin for the past 4 years. I'm writing this from our apartment overlooking Khao Tak Kiab Beach, and honestly, I still can't believe what happened to us 6 months ago. What I'm about to tell you sounds like something out of a fever dream or a badly written soap opera. But I swear on everything I hold dear that every word of this is true. It involves getting lost in the jungle outside Hua Hin for 48 hours. Two incredible women, jealousy, near death experiences, and an ending that even I couldn't have predicted in my wildest imagination. Let me start at the beginning, because context matters here. I came to Thailand in 2021, running away from a Stockholm winter that felt like it was trying to kill me and a marriage that had died years before, but neither of us had the courage to bury. The divorce was finalized 3 months before I bought my one-way ticket to Bangkok. I was one of those classic stories, mid-30s, suddenly single, realizing I'd spent 15 years building a life I didn't actually want. Thailand seemed like the obvious answer. Sun, beaches, low cost of living, and yes, I'll be honest, beautiful women who seemed interested in men like me in ways Swedish women hadn't been since I was 25. I settled in Hua Hin because it felt more real than Pattaya or Phuket. Sure, it had tourists and expats, but it also had actual Thai life happening around you. You could get proper Swedish meatballs at one restaurant and authentic somtam from a cart on the next corner. It was my Goldilocks zone. Not too wild, not too boring, just right. That's where I met Nok and Ploy. Nok worked at a bar called Sunset Dreams on Soy Bintabat, one of those open air places where you can watch the ocean while you drink overpriced singa and pretend you're not paying for companionship along with your beer. She was 29, from Buriram, with this laugh that sounded like wind chimes and a way of looking at you that made you feel like you were the only person in Thailand. We started talking one night in February of 2024, and before I knew it, she was staying at my place 3 nights a week, cooking me cow pad that was better than any restaurant, and teaching me to speak Isan dialect that nobody else could understand. I thought I was in love. Maybe I was. She talked about her family back in Buriram, her mother who needed medicine, her younger brother in university, the rice farm that barely produced enough to survive. I sent money, of course, 15,000 baht a month, plus extra for emergencies that seemed to happen with suspicious regularity. But when you're lonely in a foreign country and someone makes you feel wanted, you don't ask too many questions. You just hand over your wallet and your heart and hope they're both used gently. Then, in August of 2024, I met Ploy. She worked at Harmony Bar, just 2 blocks from Sunset Dreams, 26 years old, from Surin, with this serious, intelligent face that would suddenly break into the most mischievous smile you've ever seen. We met because I went to the wrong bar by mistake one night, drunk and confused about street names. She'd been reading a book, actually reading an English novel, Jane Eyre, I'll never forget. And when I commented on it, we spent 3 hours talking about everything from Charlotte Bronte to Thai politics to why Swedish people are so obsessed with licorice. Here's where it gets complicated. I didn't tell Nook about Ploy, and I didn't tell Ploy about Nook. Hua Hin isn't that big, but the bar scene is territorial enough that girls from different establishments don't usually cross paths. I was living a double life, and like an idiot, I thought I could keep it up, going indefinitely. Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays with Nook, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays with Ploy. Mondays I kept for myself, nursing my guilt and telling myself I'd figure it out eventually. Both relationships were deepening in ways I hadn't expected. Ploy was teaching me to read Thai, patiently correcting my terrible handwriting. Nook had introduced me to her friends, brought me to a wedding in Buriram, where I was the only Farang and everyone treated me like family. I was sending money to both families now, stretched thin but unable to say no when they needed help. I told myself I was being kind, but really I was just being a coward, unable to choose, unwilling to hurt either of them. The universe, it turns out, has a way of forcing decisions you're too weak to make yourself. It was January of 2025. The weather was perfect, that crystalline, dry season perfection that makes you forget Thailand even has a rainy season. I've been talking with some expat friends about hiking trails around Khao Sam Royot National Park, specifically about a secret trail to a lesser-known cave temple that supposedly only locals knew about. One guy, an American named John who'd lived here for years, had given me vague directions. Trail starts left of the main Phraya Nakhon path, he'd said. Look for orange paint marks on the trees. Beautiful cave with a golden Buddha. Just don't go alone. And don't go late in the day. Of course, I ignored both pieces of advice. It was a Saturday, which meant it was supposed to be a Nook day. But Nook had called that morning saying she had to go to Buriram urgently. Her mother was sick again. Could I send an extra 10,000 baht? I did, feeling simultaneously generous and resentful. And suddenly I had a free day. I texted Ploy, suggesting the hike. She was excited immediately. I love jungle, she wrote back. Pick me up at 1 p.m. I bring food. What I didn't know was that Nook's trip to Buriram was cancelled. What I also didn't know was that she'd been suspicious about my Monday alone time and my occasional vagueness about my schedule. And what I definitely didn't know was that she'd seen Ploy and me together once, 2 weeks earlier, at a 7-Eleven at midnight, buying supplies for what was obviously a romantic evening. She hadn't confronted me then. She'd waited, watched, and planned. I picked up Ploy on my Honda PCX at exactly 1 p.m. She looked beautiful. Practical hiking clothes, but with her hair down, that smile that made my chest tight. She'd brought a whole backpack of food, sticky rice, grilled chicken, somtam in a plastic container, even a thermos of Thai tea. For after hiking, she said, kissing my cheek in a way that suggested the hiking might be secondary to other activities. We drove to Khao Som Royot, parked near the main trail around 2:30 p.m., already later than ideal. But the weather was so perfect, I wasn't worried. The usual chaos of Chinese tour groups and backpackers filled the main path to Phraya Nakhon Cave. We veered left where John had indicated, finding the less traveled trail marked with faded orange paint on trees. For the first hour, it was perfect. Ploy kept stopping to photograph butterflies and point out birds she'd recognized from her village. We held hands when the path was wide enough. I helped her over tricky limestone formations. She laughed when I nearly tripped over an exposed root. This was what I'd been searching for in Thailand. Genuine connection, adventure, beauty all around us. Around 3:45 p.m., we heard the motorcycle. It was distant at first, that distinctive put-put of a Honda Wave, echoing weirdly through the limestone valleys. Then it got louder, closer, and suddenly there was Nook, somehow having followed us, driving up a trail that barely qualified as passable. Her face a mixture of rage and hurt that made my stomach drop like a stone. She stopped the bike 10 meters from us, killed the engine, and just stared. Ploy's hand dropped from mine like I'd suddenly become toxic. So, Nook said in Thai, her voice deadly calm, This is why you have no time on Wednesday? Why you always busy on Friday? Why you look so tired on Tuesday? She switched to English, her accent thicker with emotion. You have two girlfriend, like big man, like movie star. Nook, I can explain, I started. But Ploy cut me off. You have girlfriend? She turned to me, her face showing that particular betrayal that's worse than anger. You tell me you single. You tell me you alone in Thailand. You lie? This is the moment where, in movies, the guy has some clever explanation that makes everything okay. In real life, I just stood there like an idiot, my mouth opening and closing like a fish, unable to form words that would make any of this better because there was no such words. Nook got off her bike and started walking towards us. Ploy took a step back. I held up my hands like a referee in a boxing match. Please, let's just talk about this calmly. Talk? Nook's laugh was sharp enough to cut. You want to talk? Okay. Let's talk about how you send money to my family while you also send money to her family. Let's talk about how you say you love me while you sleep with her. Let's talk about how you make me feel special when really I'm just. She searched for the word. Just one of two. Like twin, like spare tire. I'm not a spare tire, Ploy said quietly, her English precise in that way that meant she was furious. I'm not anything, because this, she gestured at me, this isn't real. Just Falang with money who want two girlfriends because one is not enough for his ego. That stung, partially because it was true. What happened next was chaos. Nook lunged at Ploy, not violently, but trying to grab her arm, maybe to pull her away from me, maybe to shake her. I don't know. Ploy pushed back. I stepped between them, which was a mistake because now both were angry at me. Words flew in Thai too fast for me to follow. Then in English for my benefit. He loves me more. You're just bar girl. We're both bar girls, you idiot. At least I'm honest. At least I'm smart. And then, trying to separate them, I stumbled backward. My foot caught on a root. I fell hard, my shoulders slamming into a limestone rock. Pain exploded through my arm, bright and sharp and nauseating. I actually yelled, a pathetic sound that immediately stopped the fighting. Both women rushed to me, their anger forgotten in concern. Lars, are you okay? Can you move? Their hands on me were gentle now, checking for damage, their faces showing genuine worry that made me feel even worse about everything. I'm fine, I lied, trying to stand. My shoulders screamed in protest. Not dislocated, I didn't think, but badly bruised or maybe torn muscle. I'm fine, just we need to talk about this properly. Maybe we should head back to the parking area, and that's when we realized none of us knew exactly where we were. In the chaos of the confrontation, we'd moved off the trail. The orange markers were nowhere visible. The path we'd been following had disappeared into bamboo and rattan and that deceptive sameness that makes every part of the jungle look identical. The sun was already starting its golden descent toward evening, maybe 5 p.m., maybe later. The parking area is that way, Nook said, pointing left. No, we came from that direction, Ploy said, pointing right. I checked my phone. 15% battery, minimal signal. I pulled up Google Maps, but at this zoom level, there were no trails marked, just green void. I tried to screenshot it, but my phone chose that moment to die. The screen going black with that cheerful goodbye tone that seemed to mock our situation. Okay, I said, trying to sound calm despite my throbbing shoulder and rising panic. We need to think logically. We came from. I paused, trying to remember. In the argument and the fall, I completely lost my orientation. The limestone formations all looked the same. The trees gave no clues. We tried Nook's phone, dead battery. She'd been using GPS to follow us and hadn't noticed it dying. Chloe's phone had 30%, but she'd forgotten to buy more data after using up her monthly allotment on TikTok. No maps, no GPS, no communication. The three of us stood there, the absurdity of the situation settling over us like a cold blanket. We'd been so focused on our relationship drama that we'd done exactly what every hiking guide warns against. We'd wandered off trail, unprepared, with night approaching. We should try that way, I said, picking a direction at random. Stay together, watch for markers. For the next hour, we pushed through increasingly thick jungle, finding no trail, no markers, no sign that humans had ever been here. My shoulder throbbed with every movement. Thorny rattan grabbed at our clothes. Mosquitoes found us. Those Thai mosquitoes that don't just bite but seem to take personal offense at your existence. By 6:30 p.m., the light was going fast. By 7 p.m., it was fully dark. That absolute darkness that only exists far from cities. We found a small clearing and stopped, admitting defeat. We have to stay here until morning, Ploy said quietly. She'd become practical. The anger burned away by fear. Too dangerous to walk in dark. Nock nodded, uncharacteristically quiet. She kept glancing at me, at Ploy, her expression unreadable in the shadows. We tried to make a shelter using bamboo and palm fronds, but none of us really knew what we were doing. We ended up huddled together under a pathetic lean-to of leaves, sharing Ploy's food supply, trying to ration water from the single bottle she'd brought. I'm sorry, I said into the darkness. I'm sorry to both of you. You deserved better. You deserved honesty. Silence for a long moment. Then Nook. Why you do this? We not enough? You need both? How do you explain loneliness to someone? How do you explain that I hadn't planned any of this? That I'd just been stumbling through my expat life, taking comfort where I could find it, too afraid of being alone again to make hard choices. I was scared, I said finally. Scared that if I chose one of you, I'd lose everything. Scared that I wasn't enough for either of you alone. Scared that this whole Thailand life was just a fantasy that would fall apart if I looked at it too closely. Idiot, Ploy said. But there was less anger in it now. You think having two girlfriends make you more? Just make you liar. She was right, of course. The night was endless. Rain started around what I guessed was midnight. Sudden, violent, tropical rain that turned our useless shelter into a sieve and the ground into mud. We pressed together for warmth. The three of us, former enemies now united by shared misery. Thunder cracked overhead like artillery. Lightning illuminated the jungle in weird snapshots. Trees, rocks, our frightened faces. The rain stopped near dawn, leaving everything steaming and dripping. My shoulder had stiffened to the point where I could barely move my arm. Both women were covered in mosquito bites. We were soaked, shivering despite the heat, and had drunk the last of our water hours ago. We need to find water, Nook said. Then we find trail. We don't die in jungle because of stupid man. Despite everything, I almost laughed at that. We found a stream around midday on that second day, clear and fast moving. I knew the risks, all the diseases, waterborne pathogens, the nasty things that could make you wish you'd stayed thirsty. But when you're that dehydrated, your brain stops calculating risks. We drank directly from the stream, the water tasting like minerals and moss and life itself. We follow water downstream, Ploy said. Water goes to people. Always. It was sound logic. Better than wandering randomly. We followed the stream, climbing over rocks, sometimes wading through the water itself, moving slowly because of my shoulder and our exhaustion. The second day was a blur of heat, bugs, and misery. But Something strange was happening between the three of us. The anger had burned away, replaced by something else. We helped each other over obstacles. Nook found some wild fruit she recognized from her village. Safe to eat, she promised. Ploy spotted leeches on my leg and removed them with careful fingers before they could really attach. When I stumbled, both were there to catch me. We talked as we walked, not about the betrayal, but about other things. Nook told us about growing up in Isan, about rice harvest festivals and Buddhist holidays, and her dream to open a small restaurant. Ploy talked about her father who'd died when she was 16, about learning English by watching American movies with Thai subtitles, about wanting to study tourism management but not having money for university. I told him about Stockholm, about my ex wife who'd wanted children while I'd wanted to wait, about waking up in my late 30s and realizing I'd waited too long for everything, about coming to Thailand not to find paradise but to find myself, and instead just finding new ways to be lost. You're not lost, Nook said at one point, swatting a mosquito on her arm. You exactly where you need to be. In jungle with two angry girlfriend, almost dying. This very good lesson for you. Even Ploy smiled at that. It was late afternoon on the second day when we heard the motorcycle. That blessed, beautiful sound of a Honda wave, cutting through the jungle noise like a prayer answered. We crashed through the underbrush towards it, probably looking like extras from a zombie movie. The park ranger, his name was Somchai, found us because someone from Nook's bar had reported her missing when she didn't come home. They'd tracked her phone's last location, found her abandoned motorcycle, and started searching. He looked at the three of us, muddy, torn, covered in bites and scratches, and his face showed a mixture of concern and barely suppressed amusement. You okay? He asked in careful English. I started to answer, but my shoulder chose that moment to remind me it existed. I swayed, suddenly dizzy, and both women grabbed me to keep me upright. We okay, Nook said firmly, but we need to go hospital. His shoulder very bad, and we need water and food and she paused, glancing at Ploy, then at me. And maybe we need talk, all three together, after hospital. The ride back to civilization took almost 2 hours, following trails I never could have found on my own. Somchai had called ahead, and there was an ambulance waiting at the parking area. My abandoned PCX sat next to Nook's wave like faithful dogs. At the hospital, they confirmed what I'd suspected. Badly bruised shoulder, minor muscle tears. Nothing permanent but painful as hell. They loaded me up with antibiotics as a precaution against whatever we'd drunk from that stream. The doctor gave us all stern lectures about hiking safety and that we absolutely deserved. But here's where the story takes its strangest turn. We were sitting in the hospital cafeteria, me with my arm in a sling, both women still looking like they'd been through a war, all of us drinking terrible hospital coffee. The silence stretched out, heavy with everything unsaid. Finally, Ploy spoke. I don't want to lose you. Nook looked up, surprised. You want to keep him? After he lied to both of us? I didn't say I forgive him, Ploy said carefully. I said, I don't want to lose him. It's a different thing. And also, she paused, seeming to gather courage. I don't want to lose you too. In jungle, you saved me from stepping on snake. You shared your jacket when I was cold. You were kind. Nook stared at her for a long moment. Then, incredibly, she started to laugh. Not the bitter laugh from the jungle, but genuine, surprised laughter. This is crazy. We almost die in jungle, and now you want to be friends? Maybe more than friends, Ploy said quietly. And the air in that cafeteria suddenly changed, become charged with possibility. I sat there, my brain short circuiting, trying to understand what was being suggested. Nook turned to me. In jungle, I have time to think, time to be angry, time to be scared, time to understand something. You are not bad man. You are weak man. Scared man, but not bad man. And Ploy? She looked at the younger woman. You are not enemy. You are same like me. We both choose this Farang. We both love him little bit, even when he doesn't deserve. And we both strong enough to make new choice. What choice? I managed to ask. Maybe we don't choose, Nook said slowly, working it out as she spoke. Maybe we all stay, but different. Not you with two girlfriends secretly. Maybe all three together openly. In Thai, we say Sam Kon, three person. Not traditional, but who cares about traditional? We are bar girls from Hua Hin. We already not traditional. My Western brain struggled with this. You're suggesting what exactly? Ploy reached across the table, taking Nook's hand. Then she reached for mine. We're suggesting we try, not same as before, with lying and hiding, but honest. Three people who care about each other, who survive jungle together, who maybe can survive life together too. I looked at both of them, these extraordinary women who had every right to walk away from me, but were instead offering something I didn't even know existed. Are you sure? Both of you? No, Nook said bluntly. But nothing in life is sure. I thought I was sure you loved only me, and I was wrong. So maybe being unsure is more honest. That was 6 months ago. Now here's the part that's going to make you think I'm making this whole thing up, but I swear it's true. We're all pregnant. Not at the same time, not exactly, but close enough that it's obviously related to our decision. Ploy got pregnant first, about 3 months after our jungle adventure. She told us over dinner, nervous and excited and scared. Nook's reaction was not what I expected. Instead of jealousy, she was thrilled. Baby, she shrieked, hugging Ploy. We have baby. 2 months later, Nook announced her own pregnancy. The timing was such that there will only be 4 months between the babies. Our apartment has become a chaos of pregnancy books in three languages, baby clothes, and two women comparing symptoms and cravings and mood swings. I won't lie and say it's perfect. It's weird and complicated and sometimes uncomfortable. Thai society doesn't really have a template for this, and neither does Swedish culture. We get looks when we're out together. Some of our expat friends think I'm living some kind of fantasy. Some of the girls from the bars think Nook and Ploy are crazy. But here's what I know. In that jungle, scared and lost and hurt, we were more real with each other than I'd been in any relationship in my life. We saw each other at our worst and didn't run away. And what we've built since then isn't traditional or conventional, but it's honest. Ploy still teaches me to read Thai. I'm up to a third grade level now, she says with pride. Nook cooks elaborate meals and plans to open her restaurant once the babies are old enough. We're all investing in it together. We've told both families back in their villages, and to our surprise, they've been more accepting than expected. As long as everyone is happy and babies have fathers, Ploy's mother said with practical Thai logic. We've made rules, complete honesty, equal time and attention, all major decisions made together. And most importantly, we check in constantly about feelings. It's not a hierarchy. None of us is the main girlfriend. We're just us. Three people who found something in the jungle outside Hua Hin that we didn't know we were looking for. Last month, we hiked back to that cave temple, with a professional guide this time, and with clear plans about timing and safety. We made offerings at the Buddha and left our own note in a Ziploc bag. April 2025. If you're reading this, you found the secret place. We got lost here and found something we didn't know we were needed. Sometimes the family you choose is stranger than the one you imagined. The jungle teaches what the city hides. Stay safe, leave before dark. And if you have two girlfriends, maybe they should meet each other before you take them hiking. Lars, Nook, and Ploy, Hua Hin. We stood together in that cave, our hands all linked, Ploy's small baby bump just starting to show, and Nook's following close behind. And I thought about how lost I'd been before all of this, not just in the jungle, but in life, running from Sweden, hiding in Thailand, lying to the people who cared about me, afraid to be real. I'm still scared sometimes, scared I'll mess this up, scared that society's judgment will become too heavy, scared that two babies and three adults in a two-bedroom apartment is a recipe for disaster. But I'm not lying anymore. I'm not hiding. And I'm not alone. Thailand has given me many gifts: sunshine, adventures, spicy food that makes me cry happy tears. But the biggest gift was getting lost in that jungle with two women who had every reason to leave me there but chose to find me instead, to find all of us together. Khop kun, Thailand. Thank you for the jungle that broke me down and built me back up. Thank you for Somchai, the ranger, and his patient kindness. Thank you for teaching me that love doesn't have to look like the postcards, that family can be whatever you make it, and that sometimes the best path forward is one you never saw on any map. I'm still a farang, still messing up Thai tones, still occasionally getting lost even with GPS. But I'm not alone anymore. I have two incredible women, two babies coming, and a life that's stranger and more beautiful than anything I could have planned. If you want to interview us for your channel, we're willing to talk. Nook says she'll do it if you can promote her future restaurant. Ploy says she'll do it if you can help spread the message that love comes in all forms. I'll do it because maybe someone else out there needs to hear that getting lost is sometimes the only way to be found. Stay safe out there. Watch out for love triangles and never, ever go into the Thai jungle without backup batteries. Sincerely, Lars Anderson and Nook and Ploy, Hua Hin, Thailand.